man, wouldn't it be great if all of the people who just walked by and looked at our dogs and smiled, we could tell them the same thing that we've told those two groups of people today. Imagine the impact of, widespread information that can happen. And next thing you know, it's like, oh man, what if people could just see what dogs have been adopted or rescued and kind of strewed from there. But yeah, completely agree. Definitely just want to make an environment and let people know that they can approach and ask and learn.
Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic. As a dog mom lifestyle expert, blogger, and business owner, I love talking to other women in the pet industry and sharing their advice with you every week. Sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode. On this episode, I am chatting with Liz Nowell of Best Life Leashes. Liz is such a positive force in the pet parent world and the pet industry. I think you're going to love getting to know her. We chat about what sets her products apart and how they're so much more than a product. She's really building a community through the two-stripe symbol. I loved learning about the symbolism and the meaning behind the stripes and how they're educating people about rescue dogs. Liz also shares the product development process and how her leashes have evolved over time based on customer feedback. Lastly, Liz explains how important customer testimonials are and how they come into play in her marketing strategy. If you love listening to this conversation, there's actually more where this came from. Liz interviewed me for her vlogcast series on the Best Life Leashes YouTube channel, and that interview is live today as well. Check the show notes for a link or come over to Instagram and say hi to me at Wear, Wag, Repeat, and you will find all the links there as well. Liz Nowell is the founder of Best Life Leashes, where she created the first ever symbol for rescue dogs. While working in veterinary medicine and volunteering for dog rescue groups, Liz interacted with thousands of dog parents. She learned that people who had adopted a dog were all inspired to do so after seeing and hearing about other people who had adopted their pets too. This light bulb moment led to the creation of Best Life Leashes and a mission to help more people share their rescue dog story to inspire, you guessed it, more dog adoptions. Liz is a proud dog mom to two adorable rescue dogs, Mr. Breakfast and Buddha. She is also referred to as mom by Kevin, the bearded dragon, and Tater Tot, a Honduran curly hair tarantula. Ooh. In her downtime, Liz loves strategic board games, music festivals, video games, and golf. Hi, Liz. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tori. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, before we talk about anything, I need to know how and why you have a tarantula.
Yeah, that's it's one of those weird, I love spiders, and I always have. I thought they were really cool, the webs and pretty. It's just one of those, I got my first place to myself, and I went, man, I want a tarantula. Who knows why? And I just happened to have a friend who breeds certain tarantulas. And he said, hey, I can give you one of these. They're the easiest to take care of. And I said, yeah. And I'm kind of just thinking, what am I going to name her? Or I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at the time. It's been confirmed. She's a girl. But Tater Tot, the tarantula, just sounded good. And it was just kind of a childhood dream.
Well, that's a first. I can't say that I can relate to that story.
My fiance hates spiders, so it's been fun.
I'm very happy though that you fulfilled your childhood dream. But yeah, Tater Tot, I'll pass on petting Tater Tot, I think.
She'll pass on that too. She's very agoraphobic. They don't like to be touched, so she's a super easy pet.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It all works out, doesn't it? So let's talk about something that I know a little bit more about, which is dog business. So you have a brand called Best Life Leashes. And in your bio, I read that you created a symbol to represent rescue dogs. Can you kind of tell us about what that means? Like what is this symbol and how is it used in your brand?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go, man. This is where it gets good. I love this part. So the symbol is two white stripes. They are sort of like at an angle and parallel to each other. And the purpose behind white is it's a symbol of new beginnings, of purity, and sort of like positive future outlook. And that's essentially adopting a dog. You know, you're both starting over. This dog gets a new life. You kind of get a new life with that dog. And they're parallel next to each other because that is how we live with our dogs. They're going to be with you, you know, straight on through the end. And, you know, just a bright, pure future together of unknown goodness to come. And so that's essentially sort of the idea behind it being two white stripes. The main idea is it's easy, it's simple, it's easily recognizable. There's no deciphering as to, oh, is it this or is it that? It's just boom, two white stripes so that people can see it and know exactly that it means that dog is a rescue. And by rescue, we say adopted from an animal shelter, a second home, a rescue group, you know, I even have some people that said that they rescued a puppy when they saw it in the puppy store back when in California, when they were allowed to sell puppies not from rescue groups. So it's really kind of like, I always kind of say that like a rescue dog is sort of like your intentions and mindset of going in, you know, if you believe you gave it a better life from where it was. So that's what we mean by rescue dog, just to kind of clarify. And it's to essentially so that people can see that dog is adopted or a rescue dog. That person is proud and wanting to display that, hey, look at this choice that I made. And, you know, one of the really main primary reasons is to help educate people who are not familiar with rescue dogs or dog adoption. A lot of people are very surprised, you know, when they see our dogs, that they are purebred dogs. They are happy looking dogs. They're healthy looking dogs. They're popular breeds. All sorts of things. It's a lot of misinformation and uneducation about adopting a dog out there. And that's sort of what we want to use to our way to clear it up and help educate, but without any sort of lecturing, like let the dogs, you know, do the teachings.
Yeah. I think that there's such a need for communication and conversation in a non-judgmental way. I think there's so much judgment going on everywhere in so many different ways, but especially the online dog community, I feel like is such a positive place, but every once in a while, this kind of judgment seeps in or you just get some trolly people.
Oh, yeah.
I think that anything that kind of encourages this conversation is great. And as we know, like walking around out in public with our dogs usually does spark a lot of conversations and people want to come up and talk to you. So to have this as like a icebreaker is such a great way to meet people and like get connected with your community. I mean, there's so many benefits.
Yeah. It's been great. I mean, there's you know, the idea of having a symbol on a leash or collar or now harness really came from, you know, people asking us about our dogs and being surprised that they're, you know, adopted and having that, like you stated, the judgment-free, open-minded, respectful and friendly and inviting communication and conversation to invite questions and to make it okay that they didn't know or to make it okay that they're not comfortable with, you know, adopting a dog yet simply because they don't know, but you can turn that around and educate them more about ethical breeders and how to properly go about, you know, making that decision. So we would notice that a lot. And one day I looked at my now fiance Chad and said, man, wouldn't it be great if all of the people who just walked by and looked at our dogs and smiled, like we could tell them the same thing that we've told those two groups of people today. Imagine the impact of, you know, widespread information that can happen. And so essentially that got wheels turning, little conversations had. And next thing you know, it's like, oh man, what if people could just see what dogs have been adopted or rescued and kind of strewed from there. But yeah, completely agree. Definitely just want to make it an environment and let people know that they can approach and ask and learn. But also, if they don't want to ask and they don't want to learn, they can have a positive experience with the dog that they now know is a rescue. And that's sort of if they have misconceptions or the stigmas attached to them being aggressive or not as friendly, those start to dissipate when you have more and more positive experiences with the dogs.
Yeah. And I think that people just do have a lot of kind of preformed ideas in their mind of what a rescue dog is, if they're not already, I think everyone listening to this probably gets it. But for the people out there who maybe don't get it, they might have a certain idea of what that means. But you have purebred dogs. Bert is purebred chocolate Labrador, beautiful dog. And he was in the shelter for over 300 days. So, he's just such a people dog. I call him Bert the Flirt because he just like connects with people. We were just walking this morning and some lady from like a block away was like already eyeing him up. And we approached and he like went up and like leaned against her and looked in her eyes. And she was like, I'm in love with him. And that happens to him like every day.
Oh my God.
So I think to educate people, hey, he's a rescue that nobody wanted for a year. That could really change people's preconceptions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And breakfast is the same. He is just this he has this little waddle that he walks with, and his smile's really big. He's a bully, like an American bully. He has no ears left, but he has these big round eyes, this big smile, this wide little, stout body. And when he just kind of turns his head and keeps walking and smiling and looks at people, you can just they're like, oh my God, what is this creature? And and I let them know, he was adopted and returned multiple times, all this stuff. And you can just kind of really see them going, oh, wow. And it's without, me having to ask, oh, have you adopted? Have you, it's you don't have to ask questions. You just have to educate in a very friendly way. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And to do that.
Well, so we could talk about rescue dogs forever, obviously. But let's talk a little bit about your business too. And so not only is it kind of a conversation starter, and a community for rescue dog advocates, but you also put a lot of development and research into the actual function of your product. So you tell us about your products. I know that your leashes, you put a lot of work into making them practical and comfortable and durable and all this kind of stuff. So just tell us a little bit about that, product development process.
Yeah, awesome. I'm very new to business or entrepreneur or product, anything. So most of it was a lot of just research, asking questions, connecting with people who are knowledgeable about it, and, sort of leveraging the data of what other, companies are doing and seeing what works for them and reaching out to them and talking to them and asking questions. But the design aspect of it was more so, came from my deep irritation and just passionate, over the swinging poop bag holders and what to do with these poop bags and why are they always plastic? Why do they hit my wrist? And why does that hurt so bad? And
oh my gosh, those things always smack me in the ankle. I don't use them anymore, but they were the worst.
And they can scare dogs. And, people have reported that, their dogs used to be scared of everything. But yeah, and then just the material of the leashes, I hate that feeling of leash burn of and it smarts your skin. So it all just kind of really came from there, and talking to other people and learning that they were kind of tired of the same thing, learning more, reaching out to manufacturers and asking questions. So a lot of the product development was a learning process, but also taking my ideas and seeing which ones were good enough to desires and hatreds, and seeing which ones were good enough to pull it through, or which ones were not realistic and just kind of you have to kind of get over this sort of thing. And what I mean by that is the padding. We finally did find a padding that was, I wanted one that was, it sounds weird, but moisture wicking. So it didn't, if your hands are sweaty or, whatever happens.
It didn't absorb it and
and just and keeps, being wrung out a week later. But also I really wanted a slim design, something to stay nice and sleek, with multiple handles. But that didn't like bulge out or like catch on anything or whatnot. And being kind of like a person who really appreciates like a sleek design and not wanting to look like have anything bulky like near her or around her, is like, I'm a petite person, maybe that's why. But we finally found a padding that was stays very slim, but is cushioned enough to, really feel good, and then also have those moisture wicking properties. And it was just, again, like trial and error, and persistence. I didn't find it at first, but we eventually found it. So if anything, advice wise, just keep going, keep researching, and learn.
Did you hear the news? I created a quiz to help you find your petpreneur personality type. Answer 4 quick questions, and not only will you discover what type of petpreneur you are, but you'll also get a curated playlist of the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast designed for exactly where you are in your pet business right now. From an underdog champion to a possum petfluencer or a prosperous petpreneur, each playlist includes 12 episodes from the archives. Plus, after you get your results, you'll receive a few emails from me with special advice to help you reach your pet business dreams. Take the quiz and fetch your results today at wearwagrepeat.com/playlist quiz. Yeah, if there's some kind of material or feature that you want, and the first 5 people tell you it's impossible, the 6th person might have the solution.
Yeah. And it's just writing down what you want, asking, I need a material that does this, this, and this. And they say, oh, okay. So you can kind of go through the process of elimination there.
So did you originally launch with just a leash, or did you have a leash and a collar? I know now you have fanny packs and you mentioned harnesses. So how did you go about adding products to your line?
Yeah, we started off with our signature cargo leash, which is the one where I made a design to where you can have it attached, like the poop bag dispenser attached to the leash. It's slightly big enough for like small items, chopstick, cash key, or single key, house key. And then also has a second handle over it. So that was sort of like the first product that we launched in black. And it had a gold hook because I thought it was pretty. And then also I did the martingale collars because those are just the type of collar that, I feel is more sufficient for walking. So the whole idea behind our products is they're made to be used outside or used out in public, not really as much hanging around the house, because when we're out in public is when we want people to see the stripes. So that's why I mostly went with the martingale collar. But yeah, we had 2 products, black cargo leash, which was 4 foot in length, and a black martingale collar. And since then expanded.
Well, you're speaking my language. I love a short leash with a traffic handle. That is what I use to walk my dogs in the city. I think when you're out in different areas, different things work. But in the city, for us with traffic and cars and bikers and people and the dreaded UPS truck, like 4 or 5 feet and a traffic handle, that is my optimal leash.
And what's cool is that it's evolved over time. So when we first started off, we had the loop handle and the handle above the poop bag cargo pocket. No traffic handle.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Kind of like went from there. Oh, you're fine. And then I kind of like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I forget sometimes that we didn't have it. Oh yeah. But it was my whole thought process was, oh, you have this second handle, and the material is the same as seatbelts, so it's really soft, pliable. But yeah, I definitely noticed like I would grab it to go shorter, and I'd be like, slight leash burn, still there, and that's what prompted the traffic handle. But just kind of the design and placement of it. And again, the padding to make sure it would stay sleek and slim. A lot of people are like, I didn't even see that the handle was there. So I was like, that's what I wanted. But yeah, so it's been it's really cool how it's been developing over time and improving. And even now, we're working on a design to improve the current cargo leash 5 foot one with, 3 handles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the great part about having your own company is that you can kind of like keep refining it. And I think that's what, a lot of like newer women owned brands are constantly evolving and innovating and making it better. Like the big companies that you see in the big box stores, they never seem to, I don't want to call them out, but they never
Yeah.
seem to
Yeah.
innovate and improve things.
Yeah.
So, it's the smaller
kind of like it's selling. So
yeah.
like, it's working. But I feel like with the small brands or small business brands, we rely on customer satisfaction more. I think we also think about our customers a little more than like the big guys do, simply because we recognize the value of them. But it's definitely something that I've noticed as well is the women-owned brands tend to kind of go like, like keep improving, keep evolving, no status quo, like no stagnancy.
Yeah. Well, because nothing's ever good enough for us. So we have to make it better. But yeah, no, speaking of your customers and everything, I mean, that's such a big part, I think, of having an e-commerce store is the testimonials and the people leaving reviews. So how does that kind of play into your marketing strategy, or does it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's kind of funny when I was first teaching myself like digital marketing strategies and content strategy, and learning from other people, taking courses, I began to feel really overwhelmed as to what it is. And I really love that you brought up like what is involved in your marketing strategy. And so I think like if people are feeling overwhelmed as to figuring out, all those aspects of it, it became a lot more simpler for me when I realized it's the customers, it's how to reach them, and it's giving them what they want and different little layers. So I love that you put that is all part of it. Sorry, I just wanted to let you know, I was like, oh, it's cool. But a lot has gone into it. And it, of course, like everything else, it builds and improves over time. You see different things and use feedback from everyone. I would say the biggest part of our marketing and growth strategy is our donation programs and onboarding rescue partners and animal shelters to do our either one-for-one or monetary donation programs. We are a small business still, even though we've grown. A lot of, any profit essentially has gone towards either the donation program or improving our products, so that way we could just continue to grow and grow. We're sort of on that like long-term profitability, plan, using organic growth versus like paid ads. The Rescue Partner Program is essentially one of the most vital components of our marketing strategy, mostly because it helps us, be a cause, like a true cause, donating to good work that people are doing for the dogs that we're, making products for. And also it is essentially a free advertising source. Is it perfect? No, not by any means, but it's definitely something that has been very, very essential to our growth. And then also to go back to your point, the customer reviews and everything, connecting with customers has been a very integral part of our marketing strategy. And I knew from the get-go that I kind of wanted to grow slow over time. And I hate to say it this way because it sounds so violent, but essentially like build an army of supporters of the Stripe Squad and just get people who are on board, like really passionate and who want to support, versus people who are, kind of like seeing an ad and buying just like one-time thing, if that makes sense. So all of that kind of tied in together of, I guess you could say, connecting with people and connecting with our supporters and, giving the fulfillment of people donating back to a good cause.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about your like nonprofit or your rescue partners? Because it sounds like it's a little bit more involved than just making a monthly donation, which a lot of brands do, or, doing a one-time thing. It sounds like a little bit more involved. So if you could just tell us a little bit more about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are I love that you recognize that it's more involved. This is awesome. I'm so happy. So one thing going into this, I did say, when we started with my partner and said, we have to do some sort of donations. We have to support the animal rescue or animal welfare community or mission. And one major advice that I remember being given is to stand out, and to not, don't reinvent the wheel, but maybe improve it a little bit. And so kind of noticing that there are a lot of other, the leash collar brand market is saturated. There's a lot. So studied what they were doing and realized that, like you said, it was kind of like, hey, or this is donated. Or we donate every year, to these lists of shelters. So we wanted to be a little more involved and actually do more than a donation program. So what we do is we vet each animal shelter or rescue that either we reach out to or they reach out to us. We are wanting to make sure that our missions fit and they're okay with our mission, being, the less judgmental, less kind of game and guilt and shame driven promotion, if that makes sense. And if they're not, it's totally okay. But if they are, we bring them on board. We give them a personalized code. And what that code does is it gives their followers or their audience that they send to our website 10% off. And whatever they purchase, we either donate 1-for-1 of each item that person purchased with that code directly to that organization. Or we do a percentage of the purchase total prior to the discount to directly to that organization. And I think the reason I say directly to is because there's no like, oh, we collect them all and then distribute them evenly, throughout the year.
Right.
It is, each rescue partner has a bank, so to speak. And everything that they do to bring in people to us, they will benefit from directly, with those amount of donations. And on top of the donations, we also offer marketing advice. So social media strategy, to not only share our code and help them get more donations, but to also help with other fundraisers, these techniques and pointers that we're providing them, because, a lot of dog rescue people, they're not marketing people. They're not supposed to be, they're animal people. So I want to help fill in that gap for them and say, okay, if you're having trouble with this, try this caption and this copywriting, or, just little certain things like that, that can be applied to every single fundraiser they have from then out and promoting.
That's awesome, Liz. I love that. I years ago, I had an Instagram course for pet people. I don't offer it anymore because Instagram's changed so much. But back then I did like a scholarship program for rescues. You could, for everyone who signed up, you could nominate a rescue to get the course for free, because you're right. Like they just need a lot of help with social media because they're short-staffed, and they're probably more short-staffed now than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I love that. Well, it's been so great learning about everything. You have to give Mr. Breakfast and Buddha a big, a big hug for all of us. And before we go, if you could tell everyone where can they learn more about Best Life Leashes online?
Yeah, definitely. We have our website. It is www.bestlifeleashes.org. Best Life Leashes is all one word, and it's .org, not .com. And you can also follow us on Instagram. Handle is Best Life Leashes, all one word. And if you're interested in the cute dogs, you can check out the handle mr.breakfast, Mr. Breakfast on Instagram as well.
Mr. Breakfast is worth a follow. Very, very cute content over there. Thank you so much, Liz. Thanks for sharing your story and your time with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tori. It was really great to be here. Thank you for everything that you do.
Tune in next Wednesday for another new episode of the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast, where you'll get to know an entrepreneur with over 15 years of experience in knowing exactly what it takes to sell a product at stores like PetSmart and Whole Foods. What did you like most about this episode? Find me on Instagram @TMystic and let me know what intrigued you or what questions you have about starting or growing your own dog-inspired business. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories. I love to see who is listening out there. Some of the best conversations happen after the episode, right? So track me down over on Instagram or join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group to connect with other dog-obsessed entrepreneurs. And as always, you can find all the links and resources discussed in this episode at wherewagrepeat.com/podcast. See you back here next week.